Hi, Jamie.
Soon.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Happy Monday, episode 20. We are in our roaring 20s.
Roaring 20s. I can't believe it.
I
How long have
can't.
we been doing this?
We started in July or August, I believe. So we're coming up on like 7, 8 months. That's consistency.
That's impressive.
Usually we'll chit chat a little bit before we hit the record button, but
I
today
know.
we're just like, let's just dive in.
Let's just jump right in because, well, we're not together. Usually we
We're
chit
not.
chat when we're setting things up.
Yep.
I've got, I feel like I said this to somebody this morning. I feel like I'm in like the twilight zone of child sickness in my house.
Yeah.
It's been weeks of like one kid's got a cough and then a fever, and then the other one's starting to not feel great. So I've just been like rotating who stays home every day, it feels like.
Who is it today?
Today is Piper. So, and with her, she's 9. It's like, do you leave her at home by herself for a long time? Probably not. So
Yeah.
if it was Ellie,
At what
yeah,
age can you start leaving your kids at home? Like when's the acceptable age for that?
like legally or ethically, because I feel like they're different things. Um, no, I mean, Alice is 12. And so we leave her home with Piper all the time. And we actually
Okay.
probably started that a long time ago, like maybe when Alice was 10, even. I don't know. The thing is, for me, they're self-sufficient, as in, like, if they need something, they can get it themselves. They have
Yeah.
devices to contact us. If there's an emergency, they can call us. Um, but I don't know. Piper is just still on that cusp of 9 years old where I don't love to leave her for a long time. Like, I'll go and take Ellie to school and run right back, but longer than an hour, just, I don't know, doesn't sit well. So, anyways,
Yeah.
thank you for
Do you,
being flexible today and joining
of
me
course.
via.
Do your daughters have phones or some way to communicate with you?
Yes. So Piper has an iPad that
Okay.
has, like, she's able to text and FaceTime us. And then
Okay.
Alice has an actual cell phone that
Gotcha.
has, yeah.
I feel like I have no concept of when kids start getting these things, like a phone or like because I know there's all these like there's kids smartwatches now, and I feel like
Yep.
every kid has an iPad. But at what age are kids getting phones these days?
You know what? And it's like such a hot topic with parents on when's the appropriate age.
Yeah.
In Alice's school, a lot of the girls in 7th grade have phones. A lot of the boys do not.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and it is interesting. Yeah. And I just feel like there was a big push to like wait till 8, people say is like wait till 8th grade.
Okay.
Um, I feel like with Allie, we gave her a phone when she was in 6th grade because she was going to cheer practice and to these different games with it just always was like variable endings. Like there would be times we'd be sitting in a parking lot waiting for half an hour, or practice would go late and we'd be sitting, outside the building for however long. And so we kind of got it out of the sake of like just convenience for like, just let us know. Let us know your
Yeah.
timing. Let us know where to get you. And she used to have it was called like a gizmo watch. And it was a thing that had the ability she could voice text us, like she could send us a message, and it had GPS on it. So we could kind of locate her with her
Okay.
watch on. Um, then I think she lost that. So I will say the whole phone thing as a parent is like, we could spend a whole episode talking about
Yeah.
all the different things. And, I've had some parent friends who have older kids, and the, scary stuff that can happen now with phones. And
Right.
so we try to be, I mean, Alice is pretty, like, she uses it. She doesn't, what's crazy is all of her friends are in all of these group text messages. I don't know if I've
Yeah.
shared this before. I mean, I will just peruse her phone just to check make sure everything's like kosher here and there. And it'll be, I mean, 100 messages that she hasn't gone through from all these different, and it's like a lot of the same girls with one or two different people in like
Oh,
a
wow.
different chat. And they name them all these different funny things. And, but so sometimes that, like, there's been a few instances where I've looked through some of the messages and somebody will say something that just doesn't seem kind hearted. And,
Yeah.
it gives us time to have a conversation. Alice is also the one who comes to me when she sees it herself. She's
Yeah.
pretty good about like, hey, somebody said this, or I don't know how to say this. And so we have a fairly healthy relationship, I feel like, when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
Um, and then as far as social media goes, she is on Pinterest, which at first I was like, oh, this is fine. It's like crafts. And I would search, I could look at her account and see what is she searching and what is she looking at. And it'd be like cute Christian sweatshirts or like pink room decor. It was like super innocent.
Yeah.
And it still is. The only thing is I've noticed like, and it's for all of us, right? Like she starts to like watch people's like get ready with me and my face care routine and my wind down routine. And it's these girls who are just like, it's fine. Like it's not like anything super bad, but at the same time, I worry about how much she looks at other people and admires
Yeah.
their lifestyle versus
Right.
just being authentic to herself and enjoying her life. I think it's fine to get inspiration from others, but
Yeah.
I just don't want there to be that desire to be like, oh, that's this. I'm putting somebody on a pedestal of like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to, strive for, um, versus like just being confident in who she is, if that makes sense. So
Totally.
that's kind of a current parenting thing. I'm just trying to be more aware of. Um,
It's the whole
Piper is a
the
little,
whole comparison thing. Like anytime we compare ourselves to others, we're always going to feel inferior in some way. So it's yeah,
yeah,
it's a slippery slope.
Stella
Hi
just walked in.
Stella.
Well, I am doing our talk tomorrow on choosing joy. And
Yeah.
one of the things I remember hearing about joy and comparison is that comparing ourselves to others is robbing ourselves of joy.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is such a true statement, and it's hard. I feel like I just had this moment, even this morning, I was getting ready and like, this is going to sound so random, but I was like, imagine if we didn't have mirrors. Imagine if we like did not know what we looked like and like just didn't have this constant. I've been talking to a couple of other girlfriends and just about as we're getting older and our image of ourselves and these other things
Yeah.
and just, we have all these things that are showing us like standards of beauty and standards of these things that, are not necessarily realistic, not necessarily healthy and good. Um, let me let Stella outside real quick. So, anyways, I'm kind of going on this like random tangent this morning, but I don't know. I just had this thought of like, imagine if we just like did not look at ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
what would that be like? I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's great. Yeah, I feel like a lot of our insecurities in life come from physical attributes. And it's like if
Yeah.
that was somehow removed, like that would be such a different world. I think
Yeah.
is it Teddy Roosevelt, I think was he said comparison is the thief of joy.
There it
And
is.
so he was ahead of
There
his
it is.
time. He was I think
Yeah.
is he 1800s, right? And that was very some good foresight for
A
I guess
100%.
if something that applied in the 1800s is still true today almost 200 years ago. Crazy.
I mean, right. I mean, just before Instagram, he knew
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah. That's the thing with phones. Like I feel
Anyways,
like when I got my first phone, it was like a flip phone, and it had
yeah.
the E9 keyboard or whatever. But pretty much
Right.
the only thing you could do with it was make calls, send texts, and there were a couple like little games on it. But there were
Yeah.
no internet, no social media, no nothing. So but now phones, every kid's phone is like you have the whole world at your fingertips. So it's a very
Yes.
different decision. Very
100%.
yeah, it can be scary too. It's like you never know who's gonna be like I don't know. There's a lot of predators out there, and it's a
Yeah.
weird world.
Oh, for sure. And it's not, and it's like, yeah, you have to worry about other people infiltrating in your kid's life. You also have to
Yeah,
worry about your kids making dumb choices
right.
and saying something they don't really mean or posting something, taking a video or picture of something that's like it just it's a whole thing. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. There's still time. We're still kind of in early stages. Piper, who just turned 9, is asking like, when do I get a phone? And it's hard when you have a younger one because you're kind of like, well, the older one has one. It's like you kind of let things happen sooner for your
yeah,
younger child than you would have for your older.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, do you remember how old you were when you got your first phone?
I was thinking about that. I think I randomly got a phone for like a couple weeks in third grade. I don't know why. I'm not sure why I had that phone. There,
Weeks. I love it.
but and then because nobody else had phones at that age, and for I think there must have been something going on in life that my parents wanted me to have a phone. I don't know what it was, but and then I think I didn't have a phone for a couple years, and I think I actually got my first phone like in sixth grade or so. So probably around the
Do you
yeah this.
remember feeling
Go ahead.
do you remember feeling so cool in third grade? Like,
Yes,
excuse me,
I think I
friends
got
at recess. You're like, let me
I
just make a call.
I I think I got in trouble for it because I was like showing it off or whatever, and my teacher's like, "You're not even supposed to have that. Like, what are you what
Yeah.
are you doing?" But yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
when in middle school we'd have
You're
to
like,
at the
I'll have to
beginning.
call you back at recess.
Yeah, our middle school they had a little basket, so at the beginning of the day you'd have to put your phone in the basket, and then you get your phone back at the end of the day. Which I wonder. I feel like they're probably not doing that anymore, but they maybe should. I feel like phones are so distracting.
Well, yeah, it is. It's interesting too because my friend Shannon and her husband Peter teach, and they have like middle school, high school students,
Yeah,
and like it's this weird thing about like not only is it like, well, we can't really control it. Also, there's parents who are like, I want my child to be accessible. Like
yeah.
nowadays with emergencies, having that communication line open. Um, our school, they're not supposed to have their phones invisible. So
Okay.
if an administrator sees a student with their phone out and they're not supposed to, it's one thing. Sometimes I think a teacher will be like, oh, look something up or do something. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason. Um, but if they have it out and they're not supposed to, they can get it confiscated for the day, and then it's in the
Okay.
office for the school day. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I think different schools are different, and different, people have different views on it. But
I think
anyways,
last thing I'll say, it's crazy that even like as adults, we have phone problems, like we have phone addictions and screen
yes.
time problems and stuff. So it's like if we can't figure it out as adults, like how there's no figuring it out for kids. Like there's no
Oh, it's true.
there's no one solution to this problem. It's just got to be an ongoing, probably kid by kid discussion too, because some kids are gonna have different issues than others when it comes to technology and phones and all that. So yeah,
Totally.
crazy
Yeah.
thing that we never had to deal with. Like I feel like that my age that I'm 29, I feel like I grew up like in a pretty interesting transition. Like as a kid, we didn't have like the most advanced phone was a flip phone that could do, the very
Yeah.
basic things. But even like with like internet, like didn't really grow up with internet until I was in middle school. And now it's I don't know, it's just like I grew up in like the transition period, whereas I feel like all kids now are growing up with just like exposure to everything all at the same time. So yeah, it's
100%.
I have a lot of compassion for kids nowadays and parents nowadays.
Oh, for sure. And it's I like couldn't agree more. I feel like I'm even older than you, so I don't feel like I had a phone until I was college. Like I had a pager in high school. Like I
Yeah.
remember that. And I remember getting like access to like computers, and we would go on to AOL chat and do these different,
Oh
like
yeah.
social, things online. Like that was like it's just crazy. And so now, and it makes it difficult to parent because I'm like, I didn't, I didn't grow up with this, so I don't know. And I, as a 40-year-old, struggle with boundaries on my phone and making sure I don't get lost in,
Yeah.
things I shouldn't. So I'm just like, yeah, trying to navigate that as a mom is a whole different journey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun stuff.
great.
So
So
I
how
don't
was your
think
weekend?
yeah. I don't think we didn't chat last week, or we chatted, but we didn't record. So
Great.
let's last 2 weekends. Do you want to start with the previous weekend, then we can get into last weekend? If can
Oh
you
my gosh, what happened?
I know one thing that happened is we met at the dog park. So
That's right.
we got together, Stevie and Stella, and hung out for a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, so I will say, literally, the twilight zone of sickness has been happening since over the last couple weekends. So
Oh
the
wow.
previous weekend, we had a couple things planned. I remember that Friday we went to Beer Star with a couple friends, and my daughter Alice was saying she wasn't feeling great; her throat was scratchy. So I was like, "Well, you stay home." And then Saturday morning, she woke up and had like 102-degree fever. So I'm like, cool. Um, so she stayed home. We were supposed to host a sleepover that night with her and a friend,
That's
and
right.
so that got canceled. So I just remember that weekend ended up being a lot of like downtime, like a lot
Yeah.
of just we kind of laid low, and then it kind of carried on throughout the week. And now Piper is homesick, so it's just been this ongoing thing.
So
Um,
really riveting weekends is what I'm hearing.
it's been so great. It's been I've lost track. Like there's times where I'm like I don't actually know what day it is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I yeah, we really didn't do much that last weekend. This weekend we had a couple like we had a really fun we went to a Chinese New Year party,
Oh,
um,
cool.
which was nice, yeah. But do you want to go back and tell me about your previous weekend or do you want to do like
Sure. Yeah.
tell
So
me
that
about yours? Because I feel like mine is
previous
not great.
no, mine was pretty chill too. We met you guys at the dog park.
Yeah.
We ended up seeing the
So
new.
John Park.
That was great. Yeah, we should definitely make that a regular spot.
Yeah.
We watched the new Wonka movie. Have you seen that yet?
Yes, I've seen most of it. It was like kind of on in the background of our house, and
Okay.
I was like in and out.
Yeah. It was cute. It was very theatrical, very like musical, whimsical. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So saw that, and then have you ever seen Fargo, the show Fargo?
Okay. Yes, I feel like we started chatting about this at the dog park, where I started this most recent season. I started a few episodes, but I haven't
Okay.
gotten super far. And I want to say I watched one of the early TV series. Like not, I've seen the movie, and then
Okay.
I watched one of the earlier seasons.
Cool. Yeah, so there's
But you're into it.
5 seasons. I've never watched it prior, but
Okay.
the podcast I listen to, Armchair Expert, they talk about it all the time. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll watch it. But
Yeah.
apparently the way that they make the show is every season kind of can stand alone. So it's totally
Yes.
different cast, different storyline. So you can really go in and watch any season independently and not
Right.
really miss anything. So we started at season 5, the most recent season, and yeah, that last weekend we pretty much binged the whole season over the course of 3 days, and it was
Okay.
awesome. Like one of the best seasons of TV I've watched in a long time.
That's
So
awesome.
very dark, very weird, very bizarre,
Yeah.
but very much recommend it. Probably not something to watch with your daughters, but very good.
Right. Yeah. I feel like yeah, from what I remember of the previous season, that's always been that like dark and weird, but
Yeah,
intriguing.
yeah. So did that. We watched. Yeah, it was very. Yeah, we watched Wonka. We did watch Fargo, and then as you know, Brian streams video games, so usually
Yeah.
that's his thing. But I joined him for the first time that weekend, so we played a new. I don't even know what the game was called, but it was like a 2-person game,
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
played right next to him, and we streamed together, and it was fun. It was a good. It was a fun experience.
So, okay, talk to me because I honestly like that is so out of my world. I have no concept of that. So
Yeah.
you're like people are watching you play the game and like are they engaging with you while you're talking?
Yeah. Like Facebook Live, how you can go live and chat about whatever you want, and then people can
Yeah,
like leave comments and stuff, and you can kind of engage with them
sure.
that way. Basically, the
Okay.
same basic concept, but with playing video games. So, we were both playing the same game on screens next to each other, and then people could watch the screen as we were playing, and then people can like comment on it and stuff. And it's honestly, I am not. It's not a world that I'm really involved in it all, but it's a huge thing. Like there's so many people that
Yeah.
just really enjoy, like, rather than watching a show or a movie, they'll watch somebody playing video games, and it's super entertaining for them. So yeah.
So they're not playing with you. They're watching
No.
you play.
And a lot of
Okay.
times I think it's something that people have on in the background too. Maybe they're doing something else, and then they
Yeah.
have the streamer that's going at the same time, or maybe they're watching the whole time. I don't really know what what the consumption of it is like, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. We just basically played and hung out and made some drinks and just had a good time.
Oh, I
So
love it.
yeah,
Did Brian say as far as because he does this regularly? Did he say
yeah.
like was the interaction different with you being there? Was it like a good? Did a lot of people tune in versus other times it's just him?
I think it was pretty normal, like the same amount of
Okay.
people, but yeah, I mean it was fun. In the chat there were people that were, I was all these people that watch him regularly. I was kind of meeting for the first time or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. I mean, we both have different hobbies, and it's fun to kind of, get into each other's world sometime, and kind of
Is
experience
it?
what. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and
I'm just kidding.
I'm not. It's not saying that I'm gonna become a streamer. Like I don't. It's not. I'm not as into
No,
video games
I
as he
hear you.
is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that's part of his life and his world that I don't really know much about. So it's fun to
Yeah.
be part of it for a little bit.
No, I actually love that. And I'm only teasing because for me, my husband's hobbies are like, extreme physical challenges. And
Right.
I'm like, do you mind?
Hey, you're getting into the cold plunging, right?
No, I'm not. But you know what I did do last weekend that I forgot? I went to a spa that had a sauna.
Nice.
And so we had our sauna on our back deck during the winter and then it blew off.
R.I.P.
It, RIP. We're getting a new one. I'm very excited.
Nice.
Um, so the one that was on our back deck was technically for indoors, so it wouldn't get as
Oh,
hot as a normal sauna would. So ours would maybe get to like the 140s or so. It wasn't crazy. It was very bearable, and I would sit in it and like wait 15, 20 minutes before I even started to sweat. Well,
yeah.
this one I went to with a friend, and it got up to like 165,
Wow.
which felt very warm. And also, when I was at my sauna on my back deck, I would sit in it by myself and not talk. I'd like listen to something.
Yeah.
When I was with my friend, I was like chatting with her, and it was like my heart was racing. I was drenched. Like it was. I barely made it 30 minutes. Like when it said 30 minutes on the timer, I literally like leapt out and like
Yeah.
started pulling myself off. Um, but I will say, I much prefer being uncomfortably hot than I would be uncomfortably cold.
Yeah.
So I'm still sticking sauna route over cold plunge, but
Yeah.
yeah, that last one was a doozy.
Hey, they
It,
both
it
have
got
their
me.
benefits. They both have their benefits. I think
Yeah,
you can, and it's also it's a sauna's like a gateway drug. You got to start with that,
yeah,
build up your tolerance, then eventually,
right.
you'll become a cold plunger.
Eventually, I'll be like, let's do the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's the
yeah,
goal.
that was pretty much the previous weekend. Yeah. How was this last weekend
Yeah.
for you?
Um, so this last weekend was also not super crazy. I'm trying to think even Friday night what we did. Uh, oh, my mind is blank. I don't know. Um, there was something going on because I feel like this weekend I remember chatting with Chad of just being mindful. I have to really be mindful about how much socializing we do on weekends
Right.
because that could be very draining for him. And we had this big party on Saturday that it's people we know. I kind of refer to it as like, I don't know if you have groups where you're like on the fringe, like it's like you know them, but it's not your every weekend people that you're constantly hanging out with.
Totally.
And it was a lot. It was like, but they are each other's inner group. Like
Oh,
they
gotcha.
all know each other very well. And then like maybe there's a few people that weren't totally, but and then there was Chad and I. And but here's what they do. So they do a Chinese New Year party and they get together like early afternoon. Everybody brings different ingredients and they spend time like cooking together. They have like a whole appetizer spread to start. And then everybody eats and hangs out. And then they do a whole dinner spread as well. And so you're just kind of talking and eating and drinking. And it's funny, like, I don't know. I don't want it to come across like negative, but Chad and I honestly had a little bit of anxiety going to this because we were both kind of like, oh, it might be uncomfortable. Like, it's a long time to be with people that we don't know super, super well. And it's a lot of people. So it's one thing when it's like a smaller group and you
Yeah.
can kind of have like, you know, more in depth conversation. But sometimes when it's a ton of people, you're almost like, oh, I don't know. For some reason, that felt more awkward.
Yeah.
And I found myself like having to really check my attitude about it and being like, why am I getting so worked up over something that's going to be great? Like, it's going to be good
Yeah.
food. It's going to be kind to people. It's an opportunity to make more friends. Like, I don't know. We just kind of had to like talk ourselves. And for him as an introvert, it's also just like knowing he's going to feel like he has to quote unquote perform and
Right.
put up this like, this like energy. Um, anyways,
He has to tell a Yakima joke.
you know what? He does. Oh my gosh, what were we talking about? Oh, we met somebody yesterday at Super Bowl. And he makes this joke every time. And when they bring up a rugby player, his past, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I used to play rugby. Now I just wake up and I make funny noises when I get out of bed." 9 times out of 10, if he talks about being a professional athlete, his next line is, "But now I just make funny noises when I wake up." Anyways, I've lost count how many times I've heard it. So, okay, so back to Chinese New Year. It ended up being great. I ended up having some really nice conversations with a few people one on one. That this is maybe the difference between Chad and I. That left me filled, like that,
Yeah.
like gave me energy. He was also on call, so at one point he had to go on a call. He's also not allowed to drink any alcohol when he's on call. So it's just, it's a little bit more limiting for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, great food.
So wait, can you explain what Chinese New Year is? Or I don't know anything about that at all. Is that like do you know anything or no? If you don't, that's okay too.
Like, I didn't do any research. I know it's their like New Year's celebration. I believe it's like a week long. Are you Googling it? Please do.
Yeah.
I know it picked up like, and Tacoma does some cool things. Like they have like the monkey shines where they like hide their glass sculptures, and I
Yeah.
believe it's supposed to be the start of Chinese New Year.
I think it says the Lunar New Year. It has something to do with the moon.
Yes, it's not annual. I'm calendar. Yeah, that makes
Cool.
sense.
I'll do a little digging on it for yeah.
Well, my understanding is like I don't know if it's a common practice of the way that they did this, but the host, he was saying it's a tradition for him and his family to get together and cook together and spend the day eating and cooking, and like the whole point is that you're like in the kitchen, like, doing stuff as a family and with friends.
Nice.
Versus somebody coming to your house and everything's prepared and you just eat. And then,
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what time. I'm half Japanese, so it's different. It's like a totally.
So you don't know. Because you're half Japanese. That is, you don't just come.
I'm like, listen, it's a different country. We don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was Saturday, and then Sunday we went to church in the morning, and then we went to watch Usher's concert.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Super Bowl.
Yeah. Usher's concert.
Taylor Swift's cameo. Yeah. So
where the house you were at, were there more people rooting for the Niners or the Chiefs?
So here's the thing. I grew up in San Jose, California, and we were big Niners fans.
Okay.
I mean, my parents watched the Niners like religiously.
Okay.
I am 41 years old and have had football explained to me numerous times. And it is something my brain, like, it does not retain information when it comes to the rules of football. I told Chad, I can't believe I sat here for so long watching something I have no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like I have had it explained so many times. I cheered for football for 4 years. You did.
I tried at the UW game.
It's like, I don't know what it is. And for me, what's different, so, when Chad and I were dating, he was playing rugby. Rugby is like a very fast-paced sport. It does not stop. It's like 40 minutes, halftime, 40 minutes. It's like, with football, there's so many breaks and pauses that I'm like, I don't know. So
yeah, it's constant breaks. It's the play will last a few seconds and then it's a few minute break. It's crazy.
Yeah. So all that to say, I didn't really care. But my mom is a big Niners fan, so she was rooting for them. Piper and Allie love Taylor Swift, so they were voting for the Chiefs. So anytime Taylor was like highlighted, Pipes came running into the room and, was like such a fan.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we were a little bit divided. I think Chad was more for the Niners just for the sake of supporting my parents. But and then they had another family friend over, and I think he has family in California, so he was also 49ers.
Nice. What did you think of the halftime show?
Okay, so I was cracking up because I was like, oh my gosh, Usher, bless your heart. He's 45 years old. He looked amazing, but also was like sweating profusely.
From the start, like within a minute of starting, he was dripping sweat. I'm like, what is going on here?
Well, that's I was also like relatable. Imagine being 45 and trying to do this.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was something with my parents' surround sound or speakers. Our sound was kind of funny. I don't know
So
if
I think it was I think the sound was off.
it was. Okay. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell if it was like us or if it was the performance. I mean, I still thought it was great. I mean, Usher is like, I mean, I loved Usher growing up. So I thought it was still super fun.
Yeah.
I was secretly hoping that his guest would be Justin Bieber, but
Oh
you know,
yeah.
that was unfortunately not the case. So
I was wondering
still good, still
if
good.
Taylor Swift would make an appearance at any point, but no T Swift.
You know, no, and I feel like I felt like they were really trying not to show her too much. Did you
Yeah,
feel like that? Like
they
as much
100%.
hype as there was around it? Yeah.
Yeah, all the football
Did you
people
watch
are.
the whole game?
I did not watch the whole game. We had just gotten back from Whistler, so it was kind of like we're
Oh
unpacking
yeah,
and stuff, and then I had to
got it.
watch TV. So I watched a good part of the game, and then I watched the halftime show. I thought the halftime show was awesome. Like the entertainment, like the audio was definitely little bit funky, but the all the choreography and like the entertainment
Yeah.
aspect of it was really cool.
Yes.
I feel like all the guests he brought out was awesome, and
Yeah.
Alicia Keys's dress and piano were like insane. The red
She's
piano,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I thought it was fun.
Okay, let's hear about Whistler.
Okay, so love Whistler. Have you been to Whistler before?
No, I feel like every time I'm like, you go often
Yeah,
annually.
so we used to growing up. I went a lot because my parents had a timeshare there, and then as soon as COVID hit, there were all these like restrictions for getting into Canada. So I didn't really go any time between 2020 or 2023. I don't think I went at all. But then we
Okay.
just went like in November. So we went a few months
Yeah.
ago, and then that was for my family, and then this was for a bachelor party. So yeah, Whistler's definitely one of my happy places. Love it there. I will say this trip was a very different trip than my family trip in November. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, it was very much fun. I'm exhausted today. I'm definitely still like
Still recovering.
recovering. Yeah, it was pretty much nonstop. We got there on Wednesday afternoon, and from Wednesday until yesterday, we were pretty much doing something at all times. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun, a lot of beverages, a lot of mustaches and good food, and yeah, it was fun.
Okay. Can we talk about just, I feel like you posted some pictures. Talk us through like uh bachelor party weekend, the activities, the Canadian tuxedos, the mustaches. Like, can we share that?
I can share some things, yeah. So the I'm not sure whose idea it was.
Like, some is appropriate.
The I don't know whose idea it was, but yeah, they asked everybody to grow out a mustache if they could. So most of us had like a mustache, and it was my very first time with a mustache. I do not like how I look with a mustache, so it's probably going to be a once and only kind of thing. So yeah, that was we all had the mustache, which was funny, and then they gave us all these like glasses, these crazy glasses when we got there. And then Canadian tuxedos who were all wearing all denim one night. Um,
So cool.
yeah, a lot of just like goofy bachelor party things. And beyond that, we a lot of drinking. We went with a lot of yeah,
You're like, it's a little hazy, actually.
yeah. No,
Some details.
I was pretty coherent the whole time, which I was proud
Yeah.
of. But yeah, during the day. So basically, during the day, we do some activities. So the first day we did like a big long walk around the village and to this lake. And then the second day, most of the group went skiing. I decided not to go skiing. Um, Mainly it's just so dang expensive, and then it's also the weather conditions were really bad. So the snow it
Okay.
hadn't snowed in a while, so the actual like mountain itself it was not great skiing conditions. So I decided to skip that day. So Brian and I just kind of slept in and got brunch and hung out. And then
Nice.
the next day we did snowmobiling, which was a blast. I had never been snowmobiling before. It was very fun. Have you been?
No, never.
Um, it's a workout. It is actually
Is
like
it?
I was actually sore afterwards because I don't know. I guess I was assuming it'd be more like jet skiing where you're kind of just like hit go and turn and
It,
whatever, which it kind of is. But anytime you're like turning or going up a hill, you have to get
Yeah.
your whole body into it. Like you have to like hang on by the side and move your
Oh,
body back and forth.
okay.
So it was fun.
Okay.
What else? It was just I don't even it was a lot of stuff packed into like 4 days.
Yeah.
Um it
I
was a
feel like, sorry.
I was gonna say it was a great group. I think there were 12 of us total. Everyone was super fun, had a lot of good conversations, and went out to a couple really nice dinners, and um, yeah, it was a blast.
Okay. So I feel like, I feel like I see so many movies. I see so many people in social media doing these different like wedding events. I never really had that where all my friends all got married and we went to bachelorette weekends and then the big wedding. Like I had a few people who I was in their wedding, but it was never like I feel like nowadays there's like I mean you were together 4 days as a
Yeah,
bachelor party. Like that's a lot. Like for my wedding, I was like, we went out the night before. Like it was like that was the bachelor. It wasn't like these big crazy weekends
yeah,
trips experiences.
yeah. It was a
I'm a
Wednesday to
little sad
Sunday,
about that. Yeah,
and I'm
that's a big commitment.
yeah. This is my second big bachelor party like this, and I think there's gonna be a lot coming up in the next few years.
Yeah.
I have quite a few friends that are around, probably getting ready to get engaged. My friend Garrett just got engaged last week. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I'm gonna have to start like a special bank account just for my bachelor party savings because yeah,
I
it adds up.
mean, and then like the wedding stuff. Like you, when is their wedding? How soon
So
is that happening?
this wedding is in May.
Okay.
I think I have 4 weddings this year that I know about at this point, and thankfully they're all local. Like weddings can get really expensive if
Okay.
they're like abroad or
Yeah.
traveling for them. I think all the weddings
Yeah.
this year are within a 2 hour drive of Seattle, so I'll be able to drive to them and whatnot. But um,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of good weddings. This one's on Bainbridge Island. And yeah, it'll be fun. It's the bachelor parties are great. Honestly, like they're exhausting. Like the last one was also the last one is in Cabo and it was very very fun, but you get home and you're
Yeah.
like I need a few days just to get back into real life. But
Like
yeah, it was
hydrate for 48 hours.
yes, as I drink more water.
Yeah.
Something that came up that I
Okay.
thought was funny. What real quick? We had one. Basically, all of us got there like Wednesday, and then one of the groom's friends came on Thursday or Friday, and I thought this was kind of a funny dilemma. So he came. I don't know. I don't really know him very well. It's my first time meeting him, and he paid for everyone's meal, and it was an expensive meal. It was at a
Yeah.
steakhouse, and it was a nice meal, and it's this weird dilemma that I found myself in where
Yeah.
if he was paying for the meal, I wanted to say thank you, right?
Right.
But I don't want to say thank you if he's not paying. If there's an expectation that we're going to be paying him back, it feels presumptuous to say thank you because then it's like, oh no,
Oh.
that's you know what I'm saying?
So
So
wait, did he not say, "Hey guys, this one's on me"?
no,
Because
no,
I
it
feel like
was
that you would say like, "Okay, everybody just Venmo me," or you would say,
right.
"This one's on me." He just
And
gave a card.
And yes, so I think the rest of us are all around the same age group, and we
Yeah.
all know that we're gonna Venmo each other after the weekend and stuff. So people like kept
Yeah.
track of things. He's a little bit older and has a little bit more money, and so
Okay.
there was this I don't know, it was this kind of funny dynamic where it's like, and I didn't want to like ask him like, oh, are we Venmoing you? I don't know, it was just kind of this weird thing.
Yeah.
Turns
Yeah.
out he did pay for the meal. So I thanked him like 2 days later when I found that out. But
Okay. How did
yeah,
you
it's just
find out? Just one of the other guys was like, "Oh, I asked him."
yeah, I think I asked the groom and he's like, yeah, he got
Okay.
that one. So yeah, it's just kind of this funny dilemma. It's like you want to say thank you, but you don't want to like be presumptuous either, and it's kind of
Yeah.
a weird awkward moment.
I also want to be at that place at some point in life where it's like, this one's on me. Like,
Right.
doesn't matter how much it is. That's such a kind, because you're gonna have 12 guys at a steakhouse. I
Yeah,
can't imagine that was
it was probably
cheap.
over $2,000 probably.
What?
Uh yeah, I mean we all got steaks and
Yeah, no,
drinks
that's
and
fair.
yeah. So yeah, it was a very, very fun weekend.
Yeah.
Um I'm ready for I'm actually taking a little bit lighter day today. I have a very busy next couple days. I'm gonna go home early and Probably take a nap
Yeah.
today and just get back into the swing of things.
Okay, I totally forgot something about Friday. I was like, what happened on Friday? Friday was my dad's birthday. We celebrated
Nice.
him on Saturday. Happy birthday, Jim King. Um, and Friday evening, the girls each went to, so Allie went to a friend's house and did like a Galentine's party. And then Piper went to a birthday party at a roller rink. And so that's what I was like, I know we were busy Friday because Chad and I were like kind of driving around, dropping kids off. We ended up having dinner together and then going and doing all the pickup stuff. So, yes, don't want to end this podcast without saying happy birthday to Jim King because
Happy birthday,
it's a big
Jim.
part of our weekend.
Love it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Galentine. So Valentine's Day is coming up in 2 days.
correct.
Do you have any plans or do you do anything for
So,
Valentine's Day?
well, so Chad made a comment to me this weekend that on Wednesday evening he wants to do something for me and the girls. So he's kind of like one of Piper has dance or something. So he's like, when you pick Piper up for dance, just take Allie with you, and then when you come home, I'll have something. So,
Okay.
and then actually the following weekend we are going to. Allie has a winter camp that she's going to. So my parents are going to watch Piper, and we're going to have like a date night
Nice.
over the weekend. So yeah. So I mean, we're not really big, like it won't be a big like gift exchange type of holiday or anything like that, but just
Yeah.
try to make it a point to at least go out on a date and, be intentional to say we love our girls.
Yeah. Nice. Love it.
Because,
I don't know. We're not big Valentine's Day people usually. We'll do a dinner like you said, but we don't do gifts or anything.
yeah,
For us it's like our birthdays are both in November and then December is Christmas, so there's like a lot
yeah,
of gift exchanging.
yeah.
Usually our anniversary is in April, so we'll do something usually a little more significant for our anniversary.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll maybe go out to dinner Wednesday night. We both were on the drive home and we're like, we don't feel the need to make a big deal of it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a fun excuse to go out to dinner at least.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of Valentine's Day, I have a few questions.
I love it.
Um, Specifically just around your lovely relationship with your husband Chad. So, how did you and Chad meet originally?
Oh, okay. Do you want the short version or do you want the messy version?
Messier the better.
So there's quite a bit of controversy around when we first met
Okay.
because technically at the time, Chad was pursuing my roommate,
Oh,
and I was technically in a long distance relationship with somebody across the country. So it was kind of this like forbidden situation.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and so here's what's crazy. We met in Santa Barbara, California. Chad was there for rehab for his ankle. He had just broken his ankle and had surgery. He was literally there to see a physical therapist to rehab it and go to the World Cup. Um, so this was the summer of 2007, and the World Cup was in the fall of 2007. I was in Santa Barbara. I had finished college out there. I was living for a couple years on my own with some roommates, one of which was Chad's girlfriend. and but my parents had moved from California to North Carolina. So
Okay.
that summer, I was going to be relocating to North Carolina to live with my parents and also pursue a relationship with a guy out in North Carolina.
Wow.
So what's crazy is Chad comes into the picture. He is only there temporarily. I'm getting ready to move across the country. So we were both kind of like, had this like flash in the pan romance. I ended up breaking up with the guy in North Carolina. He told me I was his, girl that checked all his boxes. And we kind of like left this like summer romance of like, well, I'm going to North Carolina. And he's like, well, I'm going to France to play in the World Cup. So bye. Like, well, please work. So we just like, we stayed, we knew there was something. We stayed connected through Skype. I ended up going to visit him after the World Cup in South Africa. Um, During the World Cup, he unfortunately did something to his shoulder and had to have another surgery. So he went back to Santa Barbara to the same physical therapist and was going to do another stint of rehab. So I moved to North Carolina and then I went back to Santa Barbara when he was there again for his rehab. We had about 4-6 months together. That kind of like foundation for our dating relationship. But
Yeah.
yeah, so technically that was kind of the origin story in Santa Barbara. The way we met was the physical therapist that he went to was where my roommate worked that he kind of fancied. And then we just through like social circles started hanging out and just hit it off and kind of couldn't
Yeah.
deny that there was something there. But it's funny you asked me that because literally this weekend we were together. I don't know why it just struck me this week. Like we just climb into bed and we have our little routines and we're kind of doing our thing. And I just had this moment of like, this is so weird. I have been with this person for nearly 15 years.
Yeah.
We know each other inside and out, and we are just getting into bed next to each other, reading our books, doing life. Like, I just was like, how did we get here? Like, it's so crazy how you just like pick somebody and you're like, this is, you are my person, and we do
Yeah.
everything together. And
That is crazy.
we constantly talk about like, how did we end up in Tacoma, Washington? Like,
Yeah.
he's from South Africa. I grew up in California. We met in Santa Barbara, but we moved to North Carolina. I moved out there and he followed me after rugby. That's where we got married. We had family, started both of our careers out there. Um, and then all of a sudden now we have this life of, in Washington.
Yeah.
Just like, it's like, this is like such a weird concept of like, here we are just doing our thing.
It's pretty cool though that like how many different places you've had the chance to live and like different parts of the
Yeah.
world you've both experienced.
Yeah.
Um Brian and I both traveled a bit, but like for living wise, I grew up in Tacoma. I live
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
we live in Renton. Brian grew up in like Bothell, Woodinville area, and
Yeah.
we both live within like 30 minutes of where we grew up, which is kind of cool. Like it was a
Yeah.
great place to grow up, and our families are here and everything, and we have friends and every our whole lives are here. But
Right.
there's something kind of I don't know, something that sounds fun about living somewhere else and it's
Yeah.
like starting over somewhere else. Not that we'll probably ever do that, but it sounds, I don't know, it's cool that you've had the chance to live in so many different places.
Well, it is. It also was like very stressful at first because
Yeah,
Chad, for his like adulthood up until he was 30, he traveled every couple of years to a different team
yeah,
to play rugby for. And so when we got married, even when we were dating, it was like he lived in Santa Barbara, then he lived in England, and then he lived in South Africa, and then he lived in, just went to different places all the time. And when we first started dating, there was a chance like, oh, I might get a contract with a team in Italy, or I might go here. And just this constant, like almost to the point where now I feel like if we are like settled, there's like there's an uneasiness that comes up because he was so
yeah,
used to, for the longest time, having these like short stints and then another thing come up. Um, Almost to where like when we lived in Washington up until this house now, the first, I don't know, 5 or 6 years that we lived here, we lived in 5 different homes. Like we were just constantly just this desire to be on the move, to switch things up.
yeah,
So I don't know. There's like, yeah, it could be cool, but there's also a side of it of like, man, just craving that stability and craving like, okay, planning routes and feeling like this
yeah.
is also such a nice thing. So, yeah,
There is something fun about that variety. And I was with Brian this weekend, obviously, and we were counting how many different houses we've lived in together and
yeah,
separate. And I
yeah.
think so we've been together about 8 years, and I think we counted that we've between the two of us we've lived in 12 different houses over the last 8 years.
Oh,
So we've lived in two houses together, and then like we both lived in 4 or 5 houses separate.
yeah,
And it's crazy. Like I don't know, it doesn't feel like we've been hopping around that much, but we've pretty much every 1 to 2 years we've ended up one of
yeah,
us has moved somewhere else. So
yeah.
um all within, an hour of each other. But
Sure.
I don't know. There's something fun about kind of mixing up your environment every few years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's
second
crazy.
question is who said I love you first? Do you remember that?
Yeah, Chad, and I kind of forced it on him. This is like such an ingrained memory for me. We were sitting outside of a Denny's in Santa Barbara, and I mean, I'm not kidding you, Austin. Like, when I say like a flash in the pan, because it was like such a quick and intense romance of like, it was undeniable that we had something between us. So it was not very long into like when we started officially dating to when he like confessed that he loved me. And I
Yeah.
just remember he was like, we were sitting in the parking lot and he was like, I'm just having these like really strong feelings. And I was like, just say it. I was like pressing him to say it. But it was like at the same time, it was like I honestly can look back and say with such confidence, like I knew he was the one. Like I mean, it's such a silly thing when people are like, "Oh, I just had this thought that they were the one," and it was like to the point where like we knew we were like I was ending a relationship that I had been in for over a year.
Yeah.
Somebody I had known a lot longer for this guy who wasn't even going to have the same hometown as we weren't going to have any common grounds. But there was like something in the few weeks and time that we'd spent together that was like undeniable. I still have like such a specific memory of when we were first dating and he met my parents. He came out to North Carolina and met my mom and dad. And like we were out at this like I think it was their church picnic or something. And I remember looking over across at him and like having the thought like I'm gonna marry that guy. And so it's so crazy to look back and be like in the moment it's like I can't believe that was however many years ago,
Yeah.
2007, and now here we are, 2024. But feeling like so confident and so like this seems crazy, but we're like choosing each other and we're gonna make it work. And then fast forward and it's still going, still making it.
There we go.
I know it's
How many
crazy.
years have you been together? Like, what? Do you know what year you
Okay,
met each
so
other?
yeah, so 2007 was when we first started dating. Um, so and then we got married in 2009. So
So
what's that
that's
now?
17. Uh, wow. I'm struggling right now. I think 17 years is how long you've been together then, if you met in 2007.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. That is what like struck me
Yeah.
in bed the other night. Like literally just like 17 years is
That's
a
almost
long time.
that's almost as many podcast episodes that we have.
Not quite. It's close.
Not quite.
Wait, I feel like I know how you and Brian met, but I don't know who said I love you first.
Oh, for sure, me. Yeah,
I
I'm
love it.
the sentimental,
Oh, you.
emotional one for sure.
You know what? That honestly kind of surprises me.
It's I'm a very I've mentioned this before, but of all the love languages, I think I have all five. Um,
I love it.
especially in like a relationship, I think, and with family, I guess it depends on who, but for some people, I'm a little bit more, touchy feely lovey, and for others, I'm a little bit more reserved or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely, I definitely said I love you first, and
Yeah,
I think I had feelings before he did, and all that. So, but here we are. I've got him.
I love it.
I've strung him along for 8 years. So
I mean, 8 years, that's nothing to like, that's a good time.
yeah, it's a good amount of time. It's coming up on a
Yeah.
decade. It's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, happy early Valentine's Day to you and Chad and the girls.
Right back at you.
Hope Piper feels better.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Everybody in our household can't wait to have Stevie on Friday. We're super
Yes.
excited.
Yes. Well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
Have a good one.
Okay, bye, Austin.
Next episode is the big 2-1.
I'm bringing mimosas.
Sweet.
Okay. All
Looking
right.
forward to it. Bye,
Bye.
Jamie. See ya.